The hit Broadway show Cats is coming to Chicago February 21st through the 26th at the Nederlander Theatre. Megan Arseneau is the swing and Grisabella's understudy in the show. She's also a Chicagoan. Thank you so much for your time today.
Of course. Happy to do it.
Let's talk a little bit. This is your very first tour that you're doing, correct?
It is. I've been on tour now for a year and a half. So, but it is the first show that I've done on tour. Yes.
Awesome. Now you went to DePaul as well too. What did you study there, and how did that kind of help you to land this part in the tour?
I studied vocal performance at DePaul. I didn't finish out a whole year there, but I learned a lot about myself, and I really learned that I liked musical theater more than opera. So that helped me get to where I am now for sure. And the nice thing is they really let me stay on the choir there. I kind of miss singing in a choir, but that helps with this job too, for sure.
But speaking, as Grisabella's understudy, I mean, memory is one of the biggest iconic of all time. I mean, so you get to use that vocal performance. Tell us a little bit about the rehearsals and practicing, especially for that number.
Well, I actually just last week got to have a put-in rehearsal in full Grisabella costume. And it was like very emotional. So I've done it once, not in front of an audience, but on a stage in the costume. And that's the only day of rehearsal I've had. I was in the room talking to the main cast with the creative team and everything. But that's the first time I did it, it was great. And that was just last week.
Talk a little bit about that moment, especially not only getting ready to, vocally perform it, but also putting on that costume, because anybody sees it and they know what show these costumes are from.
Right. I was doing the makeup, and then it's a quick change into you start as Baby Grizz. And then during the show, you put on all like the dramatic, sad makeup and everything. And it was like so quick. And then like all of a sudden, I just like was Grisabella, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I thought it was going to be, the moment, there's such a build up to the moment, and like the character, there's so much that's expected of her. And I thought I was going to be nervous, but like once you're like in that costume and you have the face paint on and everything, I don't know. It was just magical.
That is amazing. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to see you perform that here in Chicago, the 21st to the 26th. A lot of family coming to the show, friends from school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting to hear which days I'll be on, or it could be all week. You never know. Like as a swing, you could just be thrown on an hour before the show, during the show even. But my mom's talking about renting a party bus and getting like a big group to go, because it's all my friends, all my family growing up. And yeah.
Does something like that make you nervous or like excited, or you're like,
no, it does make me nervous. I'm not nervous in front of a huge audience, 2,000 people, if I don't know any of them. But once I know like one person in the audience, it's like, I'm like, oh, it's gotta be really good. Which of course, it shouldn't be like that, because everyone's rooting for me and everything. Like they're coming, supporting me. Yeah. But you want it to be good for your friends and family.
And especially those people who have supported you, throughout your whole entire career. Were you involved in theater in high school or anything in college? Or tell me a little about your experience about saying, I want to maybe switch my major. I want to, make this a career, and talk a little bit about that influence, especially growing up here in Chicago.
Yeah, I did a lot of community theater in Oak Lawn and Chicago Heights Drama Group. And that really got me into it. I was also doing it in school. But I'd say all my community theater productions, that like was really the basis. And my dance classes and my vocal teachers and my choir, and that was, in Frankfort, Illinois. That's where I grew up. That's really what got me into theater. And then, I had a voice teacher. Her name is Marie Machuda, and she was like, you should go into opera. And I was like, oh, maybe you're right, because I really like singing in that classical style. But I'm glad she suggested it, and I tried it, and I trained in it for a while, and I really have those skills, but I can also put them to musical theater now. And I'm so lucky and so happy where I've ended up right now.
That is amazing. We are so proud of you. Talk a little bit about the audition. Especially, with you having the singing background, you're getting into theater, you had that experience. What was that? This is your first show I mean, talk a little bit about that very first audition for going into this.
Well, it was during the pandemic, so we filmed a bunch of singing videos. I did it in my basement at my parents' house, and I used the dance studio I grew up in, Dance Images. Miss King let me use the studio to film, which I'm so grateful for. So I filmed all of it, and then it was supposed to open in November of 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen. So then, like a whole year later, I get a call back, and I fly to New York, and then it was just a whirlwind from there. I had a week of auditioning there, and yeah, so we did the dance call, and then I was called back the next day to sing, and then I think the next day they called me in and they did an hour-long session with just me, and I got to sing a bunch of characters because they were looking at me to swing. I swing 8 roles, like almost all the female ensemble. And it was amazing. And I'm so lucky. It was my first audition right after school. And usually it doesn't happen the way it did. And I'm just so grateful.
Talk a little bit about being part of this cast, because obviously, things started in the pandemic, but then the rehearsals and being with everybody else, and, especially the role of a swing, because you never know which part you're going to have during any part of the show and just how integral they are to any performance.
Yes. So I really started out, I was like, I'm going to write down every time I'm on stage, I'm going to keep a journal of it. And last year I just lost track because I was on so much, because, one person gets COVID, their roommate gets COVID, they're out for 10 days, and then I'm on for 10 days. And it can happen like the day of. It's been very crazy. It's definitely slowed down. So it's not as often that I'm on for a long amount of time in this leg of the tour. But I just couldn't keep track anymore. And I kind of wish I had still, but not a journaler.
As far as the production goes, because obviously this show has, is iconic on Broadway. It's done, various tours throughout the years, and people have seen it and it's one of their favorite shows and they want to come back, or maybe some of the younger fans who have never seen it. Talk a little bit about this particular production, and we want to get those fans out there in Chicago to go check it out.
Yeah, this production, it's the updated Andy Blankenbuehler, the choreographer for Hamilton. He updated the choreography for the Broadway revival, and that's the version we're doing right now with updated costumes. The Grisabella design is completely different. And yeah, there's more hip hop influence, and we still keep a lot of the true original Gillian Lynn choreography. That's still in there, and it's still the iconic cats that if you were to watch the 98 movie film version, it's still the same, but just updated and a little more athletic, a little more exciting. Yeah, and I think it's completely different from the new movie. So I would say it's a great experience to go see it live.
That is amazing. Well, Megan, we are so proud of you, and congratulations on this tour, and can't wait to see you here in Chicago, February 21st through the 26th at the Nederlander Theatre. BroadwayInChicago.com is where you can go ahead and get those tickets, and have much fun here when you're back here in your hometown.
I can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you.